Hello, everybody. I'm here to give you a little demonstration on image trace in Illustrator 2021. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you how to prepare an image in Photoshop so that it can be traced accurately. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this picture, as you can see, has a white background, but the white background is actually a kind of ivory color, and that is going to be read by Illustrator as a color. So we need to get rid of that and just make this a lot more contrasty. So I'm going to go up to Image, Adjust, and I'm going to use curves to adjust my image. Curves is the most powerful image adjustment tool, but it takes a little bit of practice to use it. What you want to do is you can see that on the bottom, the slider goes from black to white. So this side here is the whites, and you just want to blow those out like this. So I'm just blowing out the whites by pulling this up. But I also want these colors to be darker than that. So I'm just going to pull this back down and straighten it out, straighten out the line so that it's pretty much the same as it was, maybe a little bit more contrasty in the color areas, but the white areas are as white as can be. I'm going to do this a little bit more just to try and get that good and white. And then so now we have a nice contrasty image that we can use for the image trace. And I'm just going to copy it. I'm just cheating here. I'm going to copy it and paste that into my Illustrator document. So I have to actually stop the share and start it again so that I can go over to Illustrator and share that. Okay. So now I pasted my image, and as you can see, the white is white now, which is good. So going up to the top to image trace with the image selected, what you get is you get a bunch of defaults. You get a bunch of presets. They don't let you twiggle and tweak it anymore. They just give you options. And I'm going to choose 6 colors because this really doesn't need to have more than that. It's a fairly limited color image. So I'm going to choose that and click OK. It warns you about it taking a long time, but it's depending on how powerful your computer is, that's not usually a problem on a MacBook Pro. So we're just waiting for this to finish. It is taking a little bit of time. It's a fairly high resolution image. Inching right along. I have a second document that I'm going to show you as well, and it's a photograph, which I've already isolated the figure from the background. So while this is progressing, I'll tell you how I did that in Photoshop, since I'm not going to demonstrate it for you. But what I did was I just used the pen tool in Photoshop to create a path. And paths are kind of a legacy thing in Photoshop now, but I still use them because I'm used to them. You can create a path with the pen tool, just like in Illustrator, and then you can turn that into a selection. And you can copy the selection area that you just created and place it on a separate layer, and that will isolate it from the background. You can also use paths to create selections from paths to create an alpha channel. And I'll show you what that's like in another demonstration, because we're going to probably have a whole demonstration about alpha channels and paths a little bit later in the term when we're actually delving into Photoshop. So boy, this is much more complicated than I expected. Oh, smoothing, curve fitting. Ah, here we go. Okay, now it's finally done. The button has changed to expand. And what expand means is that you're just taking what was traced and you're actually now going to turn it into editable paths by clicking expand. And there it is. And you can see that there's still a few little spots where it picked up color in the white background. But overall, let's see what happens if we delete that. We can just delete the background and grab any like extra little bits that we don't want and get rid of those. And then we have the rest of it as a nice editable paths. And of course, if you want to, you can also change these colors. So if I select this area here, and then I want to select everything that's the same color, I can go up to select same fill color. And now all of those colors are the same, and I can change it to a different color if I want, like that, or so on. So that is image trace using what we would consider to be line art. It's a silk screen, so it has some texture to it, but it's a fairly simple color scheme. But what if you have a photograph like this that you've cut out and you want to turn it into paths? You can do that. Once again, with the image selected, you can go up to image trace, and you have a choice between high fidelity photo, low fidelity photo, or all these other ones. And I have tried a few. I found that low fidelity photo gives that nice kind of silkscreen look. High fidelity photo it's kind of pointless because it makes so many paths. And why would you want to have a photo made of paths when you can have a photo made of pixels, which would take up a lot less memory? But if you want that posterized look and you want to be able to manipulate it and mess around with it as paths, then you can choose low fidelity photo. And as you can see, we're just going to expand this. You can, let me zoom in on it first so you can see it before we get those paths. Whoops, wow, that's a real zoom. Okay, I zoomed like a mad woman. Well, it's not me that's mad, it's this computer. So you can see it gave us that postery look. And then when we click on expand, which we're hoping to do by moving this down, there we go, then that turns it all into paths. And it has chosen colors to match the colors in my photograph. So now at this point, if I wanted to, I could go in to any of these areas, and I could actually edit these shapes and paths. But first I have to click off of them, actually. Like this. Woo! And then this zoom tool is just driving me nuts here. Okay, there we go. So for example, something happened here and there's just this little bit of white there. I don't want that there. If I don't want that there, I can actually just move this up here. So it's created shapes over shapes, which is interesting. It's a little bit different than it used to be. I guess that's so that white spaces don't appear like that most of the time. But that is image trace in Illustrator. And I hope that you find it useful. Thank you.